So guys, hello everyone. Can you let me know if I'm audible and if my screen is visible? Yes, guys. Okay, great. Hi guys, good evening guys. We'll be starting shortly, but before that, let's wait for people to join. Okay. Let's wait for 2 to 3 more minutes for people to join and then we'll start with the class. Today we will be talking about HTML forms. Okay. So yeah, maximum of our time would be, you can say, included in, you can say, talking about HTML forms, because yes, it is a fairly big topic. After that, we'll also talk about how exactly the form data is tackled and everything regarding it. And then if we have some time, we'll talk about some small topics. Right. So yeah, that is what we'll be doing for today. So let's wait for people to join. Don't worry, guys. The attendance, you can say the attendance which is present on the platform, don't need to worry about that. There might be some small bugs in it, right? Because of that, you are seeing that it is marking absent. But I would suggest that whatever links I'm sharing to you on the WhatsApp, right? If you have access to the platform, if you access through the platform, so if you enter the link or the meeting through the platform, then it will be marked present. Yeah, you should join via the platform. That is what I'm telling you, because otherwise it won't be able to keep track of you attending the class. So just click through that and then join it. I think then it will be able to mark your attendance. Yeah. So please do that if you have the access to it. And guys, don't worry. Those people who do not have access to it, that's not an issue, because that attendance would not give you a problem, because I would be maintaining attendance for that point of time till the point the others have not been, you can say, entered the platform, or the others have not yet entered the platform. No, guys, class has not yet started. We are just solving some small doubts. And yeah, guys, according to me, according to what I can see on the platform, there are 182 students which to which already the mails have been sent. Okay, there are 182 students to which the mail for the platform was already sent, and there were, I guess, 5 or 6 students which were left. So if you did not receive it, or maybe you were not able to find it, what you can do is, there is probability that you might have received the, you can say, reset password reset email. Now it has been a long time. So what you need to do is go to the platform, right? I've already shared the link. Go to the platform and enter your email in the forgot section, forgot password section. Enter your email, and if it sends your email, then it means that yes, your account is already created. Reset your email and you will be able to enter the platform. If it tells you that the student does not exist, then please go to the Excel sheet where you wrote your details and mark inside it no. Okay. So I would understand that, okay, you still are not able to access it. Right. So that is how you need to do it. Guys, it will be approximately 28. Okay. After 28, we'll have our regular classes. Okay. Let's start, guys. Guys, I've already talked about what you need to do if you have not got the mail. Okay. So please go to the video if you have recently joined and if you did not get the mail. What you need to do is pretty simple. Go to the website, right? Go to the student platform, go to the forgot mail or forgot email or forgot password, whatever it is. Click on it, enter your email, and yes, if you get an email, then it means that yes, your account already exists and you can reset your password. and then you can enter the platform. If it says that the user was not found, student was not found, anything of that sort, go to the Excel sheet and in the fourth column, mark no. No means that, okay, I'm not able to sign up into my account, and then we'll take action against it. Okay. We'll reshare the link to the platform, guys. Not an issue. If you do not have it, we will reshare it. And yeah, guys. Okay. I think it is time. Let's proceed with the class. Right. So let's start with the class. And today we are going to talk about HTML forms. As you can see at the top, day 5 HTML forms we'll be talking about. And let's get started with it. And there are more people joining. Let's wait for them. Yeah. And yeah, guys, people who recently joined, please, I request you guys to join on time. Okay. It's already been 8:05, and I told you that every day we'll be starting class at 7:55. So just you all can join in fast, and then we can start. Right. In between you join, definitely I will let you in, but there will be disturbance in between. That is why I tell you that please join a little bit early. Yeah, please be ready and please join early, because it's still been 5 minutes and I can see that only 120 students are present. The approximate strength is 160. So still there are a lot of people who will be joining in between. But yeah, not an issue. Let's get started, guys. So today we will be talking about new elements. So we'll be talking about two elements basically. So we will be talking about HTML forms, and we'll also be talking about inputs. Okay. So forms on its own can't do anything, but with forms, you also need something known as input so that you can enter some data. Now, what is the basic definition of a form or an input? A form is just a list of, you can say, variables where you can enter data. A form is nothing but a container for different inputs. So whenever you see a website, there is always a chance that you need to enter some sort of data for some or specific reason. Okay. So let me just give you an example, guys. If you have seen multinational companies, if you have seen any company working, it's always because of the reason that it needs or it has something known as crucial information about you or some users. Okay. Every company works on something known as data, and data is very important for anything to work properly. And that is why companies on its own keep on taking data from the users, either with its, you can say, agreement or without its agreement. But yes, they keep on taking your data so that they can update, they can, you can say, do some analysis, and they can keep your profiles up to date. So there are certain different scenarios in which the user information is took by, you can say, the websites. Now a lot of them are there, a lot of different ways are there. There are certain scenarios where you don't even need to enter anything. It's just that they can figure out what exact information they want. But in the case, in the scenario, the thing which we are talking about is the way where user enters the data, and that is through two different elements, which is forms and inputs. So we'll be talking about in elaboration about forms and inputs. Now, forms is not a very big tag or something, you can say, a lot different. It's just a container. Okay. So whenever you create a list of input fields, let's say I have bunch of input fields. Let's say a user needs to enter his name, his email, right? There are more than one input fields. That what you do is you just enclose all of them inside a container, and that container is known as form. That's it. That is what the use of form is. Now, why exactly is it important to keep is or include it inside a form? Will it not work if you don't include it inside a form? Absolutely, it can work. But if you have multiple inputs and if you keep it inside a form, it is way more easier to manage them. You can say send the data and different things. Okay, that is the reason forms are actually, or form tag as an encapsulation is used. Now in a form tag, what you have is something known as an input. So what you have is something known as a input tag or an input element, whatever you want to call it. Both of them are same. And this input tag is now capable of accessing or accepting user inputs. So a user can input some data and that can be accessed by you or by the backend whenever you basically enter something and you submit it. Okay, so you also need a submit button. Now this submit button can also be created with something known as an input field. Okay, so input fields are what? Input fields are a way to take users data, or basically a way for user to enter some data which can be sent to us through the website. Okay. Input tag is a self-closing tag, guys. Let's see. Let's see some examples. Okay, there are you can say a lot of different types of input tags. Let me just show you a few of them. So we'll not talk about all of them, guys. I'll give you a reference where you can basically check out and see how all of those different types work. We'll be just talking about the most important works and most commonly used ones, because there are a lot of them and most of them are not used. So we have something known as a text type. So let's say a user wants to enter some sort of text, right? So he can use something known as text type, and whatever you write inside here works. So it can be a special character, it can be spaces, it can be numbers, it can be alphabets. All of that is acceptable. You have something known as password. So if you would have seen that, like secure, you can say account details, right? If you want to enter some password, it is always displayed in this dotted format. So the type of input field which they use is something known as password. Okay, that is what password means. So passwords are not actually encrypted, guys. Don't think that it shows you in dotted format, it means that it is storing your password in a unique or unreadable format. No, it's just a way to display it. Okay, it's just a way to display you that the password cannot be visible until and unless you want it to. Okay, so it's stored in a normal string format. Okay, it's like, again, like a normal string format. It's just that it shows it in a dotted format so that others cannot figure out while you are typing it. Now, after password, you have something known as number. Number, very simple. You can enter negative, positive numbers, right? That is what numbers is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want, you can enter. I'll not write a range because yes, we don't need to. So you can enter -1, you can enter -10, you can enter 1, you can enter 100, whatever you want, numbers. After that, what else do you have? You also have something known as submit as a type. Okay, submit. So you can use this submit type to do certain different things. Like you can basically make your form submit. So if you have multiple input fields, and if you want this to submit this form to somewhere, if you want all this data which you entered earlier, if you want it to be submitted to your website, then you use this submit button or this submit type. Okay, so it is also very useful. And guys, remember that submit can only be once used inside a form. So a form can only have one button or one submit type. Okay, so definitely that you can't have different multiple buttons in your form which make you able to write submit. Similarly, you have something known as email feed. Now this is recently added so that you can enter emails and they can be validated on the front end. So what happens if you enter an email inside this email field, it will validate that if it is valid email or not. If it is not a valid email, it will send user a error. It will show user a error. Right. You also have something known as checkbox. You also have something known as radio. So if you have ever seen a Google form with multiple choice options, right? You have to select one of them. You have multiple choice options and you can select only one of them at a point. That is a radio button. That is known as a radio button. Okay. That is what a radio button is. So radio button looks like something like this. This is a radio button and a checkbox is something like this. Checkbox means you can select it or you can deselect it. Okay. Yeah. So these are the most common ones. Definitely there are more. I'll give you a reference where you can read about them. So let me just show you. You can go to W3 School and you can go to the input tag and you will find all the different types, guys. And you can see there are a hell lot of them. Text, time. Okay, so there are some which you might want to use, like there is something known as time. Time is also very useful. So yes, we'll talk about time as well. Now, number, password, we already talked about. Radio, we talked about. We have range, you have reset, right? Reset is also useful. So we'll also talk about reset. Now, what else do we have? We have search, we have submit, we have tell, we have text, time, URL, week. So there are a lot of them, guys. You can check out and you can see that what all they do. But yes, we'll talk about the most important ones. And yeah, these are the most common and important ones which you will mostly use or prefer. Yes, date is also one of them. You can also write date because these are very simple ones. You know what they do. We just need to check or see how exactly they are used. So yes, we'll talk about it. So let's create a form, guys, for ourselves and let's start working with it. Search, not so important, not so commonly used in a lot of websites, but if you want, we can also talk about that. Yep. It's exactly like an input field. Okay, so it's exactly like a text field. The only difference is if you have seen that most of the search boxes have a cross button at the end, right? That's it. That is what a search box has. So a search type input field just has a cross button at the end so that you can clear it very fast. Okay, you can clear the whole input field just by one click. That's what a search box has differently. That's it. Yeah, so let's look into them. Let's go. You can see we have created a new HTML static page and we will start writing inside. Now, in the body, the first thing we will do is we'll create a form. So we'll say form. Now, inside this form, we will create something known as input field. So we'll say input and we'll close it. We'll also give it a type and I'll keep it empty for now. The reason I'm keeping it empty is because I just want to use it or reuse it, copy and paste it again and again. So I don't want to type this again and again. That's why. Yeah, guys, one more input field which you made me remember, and that is known as files. So we'll also talk about files. Yep. Now, the first input field is normal text field. So by default, guys, it always is something known as text. So if I write just text, you can see this is a text field. Okay. This is a text field. I can write alphabets. I can write numbers. I can write special characters. Everything is acceptable. Even spaces are acceptable. That is our input field. Now, after that, guys, there are a lot of them. Okay. You don't need to know about every single one of them for getting started. Okay. If you want, you can read about them. They are very simple. But for now, I'll just tell you the most important and the most commonly used ones. After the input field, we have something known as number. And yes, this is number field. The only difference is you have this pointer arrow, by which you can enter numbers. You can see in positive and negative, and you can even type them out. You can see if you try to type any alphabets, it won't work. Any special characters, it won't work. Only you can see numbers would work. Okay. Now, after the numbers, you also have another input field. After the numbers, what do you have? We'll go sequentially. We have password. So you have password, and this is a password field. If you write inside it, you can see it's not visible, but it's not encrypted, guys. Remember, it is not encrypted, so you can actually get to know what it is. Now, after the password, what else do we have? After the password, let's talk about email. Okay, fine. Let's talk about email. So we also have something like email. Would you find anything different? Not exactly. You won't be able to tell any difference till the point I actually create a submit button. So guys, submit button is actually important. If you don't create a submit button, then you won't be able to see the difference. So let's create a submit. So I just write submit and I have a submit button. Okay, this is my submit button which I have. Nice. So let's write something inside it. Let's try to submit, and you can see we got a error message. We got an error message when I tried to submit that @ is not included. So this maybe or might not be an email. So it says that @ is important. Now, if I try to submit, it still says @ dot something is required. So an email always has a @. It always has a dot in between. So it knows that this should be a proper email to work. So that's why it gives me a prompt for that. Now, after submit, what else do we have? Let's see. So we have talked about password, number, submit. Okay, let's talk about file as well. So you have something known as file. File is very simple. You might have seen it at a lot of different places. This is a file icon. Okay. If you click on this button, if you click on choose file, it will pop up. It will open up your file manager and you can select a particular thing and it will be selected and you can use it. Okay. That is how it works. Okay. That is how it works. Now, after the file, what else do we have? After the file, we have something known as checkbox. So let's see checkbox and radio, and then we'll see time and date. So let's see checkbox. And this is how checkbox looks. This is one checkbox. Okay. Now, if you're saying that why are some of them in a single line, some of them in a new line, guys, actually, all of them are actually in a single line. You can see all of them are in a single line. So they only take the space they need. So only take the space they need. The rest, you can see them in a new line just because they don't have space to show them in the next line or in the same line. That's why. Now, the submit button or the checkbox can be shown in a same line. That's why they are next to each other. But if they don't have some space, then they will jump on to the next line. That is how they work, guys. Okay. You can use something like BR tags. Okay. If you are confused or if you want, what you can do in between every single one of them, you can use a BR tag and that will automatically break them to the new line. You can see they are breaking into the new line, right? So you can actually use that if you want. So let me just write it down. Okay, we'll just add the BR tags later. It's not an issue. Now we know how checkbox works. You can see this is a checkbox. Now after this, you also have something known as a radio button. And this is a radio button, guys. Now a problem with the radio button is that you can see when you click on a radio button, it can't be resetted. Yes, you can see a checkbox can be clicked and unclicked, but a radio button can't be resetted. So that is one of the things it has. Okay. Now, after the radio button, what else do we have? We have radio, then we have time, date, reset, and search. So let's also look into them. We have something known as a time. And guys, yeah, this is the time. Here you can enter the time. You can see. And yes, I have time. I have something known as date. And now I'll be able to enter date. So this is the date. You can see I can enter a particular date. After that, I have search. So I'll also show you search and then I'll also show you reset. So if I have a search, you will see that it's like a normal input field. The only difference is when you start typing. If I start typing, I get this small cross arrow so that I can clear it. That's it. That's what a search field looks like. Nothing else. That's the only difference. Because search fields keeps, or you can say you want to search for some new fields and you can say again and again. That's why they just added a small, you can say UI user interface so that it could improve your user experience. That's why. Now, after that, the last one, which is input, and you have something known as reset. Let's save it. And now we have a reset button, guys. You can see this is a reset button. What it will do, pretty simple. If you write or if you write some fields inside it, let's say I entered some fields, right? Let me just enter something. Now, if you want to clearly, completely empty this form, you want every single field to be emptied, you just use reset and you can see everything is resetted to normal. Okay. Yep. So that is how you have it. Let's proceed. Let's talk about it. Okay. So now guys, yeah, everything is working. Let me just add this BR tag in between every single one of them, right? So that they're a little bit more cleaner. And then we'll talk about further things. I know that I skipped or I'm not talking about the advanced stuff till now, but yes, we'll be getting into the advanced steps. So don't worry about it. At the end. Okay. Now, no, I don't want to save it. Fine. Guys, we don't have a search button. It's a submit button. You can see it's submitted, but you really don't know where the data is actually going. So we'll talk about it later, what submit does. But yes, it is able to actually validate some stuff. So let's say you write some email, then it will be able to validate if it is the right email or not. So all the validation, all the checks, if it is valid or not, happens at the time of entering, guys, at the time of submitting. Right. Now, guys, fine. Now we know all of these and how each and every one of these input fields works. Right. But there is one thing still a problem. The reason is that it's not still accessible. Right. Now I can look into this and I can figure out that, yeah, oh, I need to upload a file, but I can actually not figure out what exactly I need to write here, right? What is this input field for? What do I need to enter? That's a big problem. So for that, you need something known as a attribute known as placeholder. So if you add a placeholder is just like a holding text. So if you have not written something inside it, it will show you a small message. When you start typing, that message would be replaced by your, you can say whatever you write inside it. Now let's write something. So let's say this is a field for name. So I will say name, and you can see inside it, I got this name in small, right? So this is my name field. Now, if I start typing something inside it, you can see it is hidden, right? So it's just shown as a placeholder. It's a placeholder until and unless you start typing something inside it. What does it do? It helps me to make the form a little bit more readable, right? It's a little bit more readable now. I can figure out what I need to enter in that field. So let's add this placeholder field wherever it is possible. So number, yes. Let's say that here I need to enter a age. So I'll be setting it to age. So let's say this is a place where I need to enter age, right? This is a placeholder for it. Now here I need to enter something known as password. So I'll say password. Yeah. Now when I go further, I need to enter an email. So I'll say a placeholder of email. Great. After that, I have a file. So for a file, you actually do not have a placeholder. Okay. For a file, you need to have a different sort of solution, but you don't have a placeholder. For a checkbox, you don't have a placeholder. For a radio button, you don't have a placeholder. For a timer and date, nope. For a search, yes. You have a placeholder. You can say search for ... for search for something, right? So yeah, we have it. Search for whatever you want. For reset, we don't have a placeholder. For submit, we don't have a placeholder. Now guys, we know one more additional attribute, which is placeholder. Now let's talk about another sort of attribute which we have. So now guys, you can actually add to these fields something known as a required property. Okay. So let's say that in all of these fields, if I don't enter any one of them, I can still submit it. Okay. I can still click on submit and it's sort of submitting. Okay. So let me just show you that so that it is believable that yes, it is submitting. If I click on it, you will see that the page reloads. Okay. You can see it reloads. It means it is submitting, right? It is submitting the page. Now let's add some validation. Now guys, we can't add a lot of validation to it, but yes, a little bit of validation you can still add. Like you can check if a particular field is empty or not. So I can make something known as a required attribute. Required attribute does not have any value. It's just a field. Okay. So it's just an attribute which I add. And now I made name as a required property. It means if this input, if this name is not entered by me, then I cannot submit this form. You can see it says, please fill out this field. This is an important or necessary field. If you don't enter it, you can't submit the form. Here as well, if you refresh, you have this form. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Right. If I try to submit it, no, I won't be able to. You can see my page does not refresh until and unless I'll fill it. If I fill it, now I'll be able to submit. Right. So yes, you can add this required property. So let's say age is required and email and password is required. So all of these fields are required. If I don't fill them, I won't be able to proceed. At a point, you only get an error for one field. Okay, so I entered it, but now I can get the error for the second field. Now, if I enter it, then for the third field. Now, if I enter it, then for the fourth field. But now it is not empty, but I'll still get another error that it is not an email. So yes, multiple validations can happen at the same point of time. And yes, we can see it. We can see how it works. Now guys, there are some more fields you can add, like you have an attribute known as length. So actually you can basically trigger the length. You can say set that a name needs to be of minimum 2 or 3 words and maximum 10 to 15 characters. You can actually set that length. You can say not here, my bad, but here. You can say max length. You can say max length. And then inside this max length, you can specify 20. It means now I cannot enter characters greater than 20. Similarly, you can say min length, and now you won't be able to submit your form if there are less than 5 characters. Okay. Don't save it now. Yes. So this is my validation now. Now, if I leave it empty, I won't be able to submit. If I write something, but it is not greater than 5, it says, please, the length should be greater than 5. If I write greater than 5, then I'll be able to submit. But if I go greater than 20, I won't be able to enter characters. You can see now I'm not able to enter characters even if I type anything. Okay. So yes, I've set it a range. Now I'll be able to submit, but again, I get other errors, but yes, now I can add some sort of small validations. Yeah, guys, you can. So let's say you add a title attribute. Let's say you say number, right? And let me just save it. And yeah, guys, you can see that you don't get it. What is the reason? I did enter, or I did put a title field, but I'm not able to enter it. Why is that? Because by default, all the input fields actually have a title which says, please fill this field. Please fill this field number, right? So wherever I enter it, I'm still able to see it. But if you don't have a particular placeholder, then you can see by default, I have a placeholder already for it, a title already for it. Please fill out this field. So yeah, title is by default present. I'll tell you a better solution, guys. Okay. Now let's proceed. So now we know how max length and min length also works. Now what else do we have? Now guys, placeholder definitely works. You can see placeholder is giving me a lot of, you can say, ideas that I need to enter my name. So let me just write. Yep. Now I need to enter my age. Fine, I'll write my age. I need to enter a password. I'll write a password. Email, I write my email. But if I enter it and if I enter everything, now if I can get confused, right? Now I can get confused after entering everything, that what exactly was this field? I might forget that what this field was after entering, because I don't remember what this field is, because placeholders are gone, right? It can be confusing. So placeholders are not a permanent solution. We also need something else except of placeholders, which are permanent. So we can actually use something known as labels, guys. So we need something known as labels for it. So you can add something known as a label. And label is basically for a particular input field. Like this is a name field. So I can make this label say full name. And now you'll see it at the top of it, right? You can see here, full name is a label field for this name, which name input. Now guys, remember, now although you're seeing it, full name at the top, input at the bottom, but they don't have any relation between them, guys. They are not linked. What you need to do is you need to link this label to this input so that it can figure out that, okay, this label which I've written is for this particular input field. Okay. So you need that. So for that, what you need is firstly a ID inside an input field. So to connect a input field with a label, for an input field, you first need a ID, a unique ID. So let's say my ID name is name. Now inside my label, I can connect it with the help of a for attribute. So it says that this label is for a input field which has an ID of name. That's it. That is how you read it. So it says that this label is for a input field with the ID of name. So it means this one. Now they are connected. Now we'll get to know that what connections actually help out them. But yes, now they are certainly connected, and yes, they can be used properly. Right. So if I go back here and if I write something inside it, yes, you can see it works. Now it did not make any difference here, right? I know that it did not make any difference here. You can't see any changes, but it really needs to be present, guys. It needs to be present. Now guys, one more thing which happens when you add something known as labels. Okay. Now when you add label, you actually make your website a little bit more, you can say, accessible. Let me tell about you more when we go to better examples. So let's go at the bottom and then let's talk about it. So let's add the placeholders for everything. So this is a placeholder for age and the for is age, and we need to add an ID here. So let's add an ID of age. Right. Great. After that, you have another one. And this is not full name, but this is password. This is password, and you have an ID of password. Now, so yeah, this way we'll have to manage it or basically add it to every single one of them. So let's do it, because yes, it is important. It is good if you have them. Okay, it's necessary in a way. Now, after that, you have not a full name, but an email. So we'll say email field. It will say email. And here we'll again say email. ID of email. Similarly, a file. So we can say for upload, or not even upload, we can say user image. So this is for user image. Yep. And it should say upload image. Yeah. Now we have upload image. What else do we have after it? Let's continue checkbox. Now guys, let's talk about something new. So fine. Till now we are able to work with it. Now guys, there will be scenarios when this is not the case. Okay. So checkboxes, fine. Checkboxes are mostly used for multiple options, and you might need to select multiple of them, right? I have multiple options. For that, I need to select, I can select multiple of them. I can select one of them. So I can select it, deselect it, whatever I want to do. So checkboxes are fine. Checkboxes really don't need anything. So we can just say, or you can say not even that, we can say policy, right? Policy. And the placeholder will say accept all policy. So let's say that it's type of a policy tick mark, that if you are going to make an account in our platform, then you need to please accept all the policies by clicking on this button. Okay, that's what it is. And we'll add a ID as well of policy, right? Like this. Now, let's proceed. Now, so now we have a label and a radio. Now we can talk about something known as accessibility. Now guys, what am I actually doing? How am I making my form a little bit more accessible by adding labels? There are two reasons for it. One way is that I now am able to understand that which field is for what very clearly. I'm very clearly able to understand this is a full name field. Even though I'm writing something inside it, I can still understand it is a full name field. That's one of the ways. The second way is, now your form is much more accessible in a way that Now you don't need to actually click on this name field, okay, to enter something inside it. You can now even click on this input or label, guys. You can click on the label and you can see you started entering inside the field. You can click on the label and you started entering inside it. Now, how is this useful? Now, definitely not useful for input fields because input fields are large enough. But yes, very useful for these fields, checkbox fields. You can see checkbox is very small and sometimes it can be quite irritating if I go to a usual size, right? This is my size of the screen. It can be sometimes quite irritating if I need to select multiple options to focus on it and then select. Rather than focusing on every single one of them and selecting, I can simply select or click on label. And you can see, even though I'm clicking on the label, but I'm able to select the checkbox. So this is one of the types of new accessibility you're adding. Yeah. Okay. Guys, you would require JavaScript for it, so don't worry about it for now. Right. You can't show the uploaded image, guys. You can only just show the name of the image. So if I click on it and if I select, let's say this whiteboard, right? And if I click on OK, you can see whiteboard 9.png. That's it. That's what you can show, basically show to the user. Now, what else do we have? Now we know a little bit more accessible. We have made our website a little bit more accessible. Now, what else do we have? Yeah, guys. What else do we have after this? Now let's talk about radio buttons, guys. Because the scenario which works for checkboxes is not applicable for radio buttons. Like there can be multiple checkboxes. You might have to select all of them. You might have to select few of them, right? After that, you have something known as a radio button. Now, what do you have in a radio button? So in a radio button, guys, most of the times it's like a multiple choice. It means you have multiple options and you need to select one of them at a point, right? That is what you need to do. So what you need to do is basically you need to have multiple input fields with something known as a label for it. So let's add a label for this radio button. Let's add an ID for it. The ID of the label would be, let's say, email, or not even email. Let's say it says Apple, or not even Apple. Let's say coffee. Yeah. And what else do we need? Yes, here also we need to add something known as, yep. What else do we need after this? Yes, we also need something known as a name field, which should be, or let's do it, fine. Let's do it. Let's say, let's do it colors, right? Colors will be much better. Red, fine. Now what you can see, now I have a radio button. I can click on it. I can select it, but I don't have multiple options. Yeah, guys, you can do it. So it's like, if you want, you can put the label after the button like this. Yes, absolutely possible, doable. It's just the arrangement which is actually working. Now, after this, let's add few more. So let's add two more. So let's say this is not coffee. This is red. This is green. This also says green, and this also says green, right? Now we have two of them. Now if I select first one, you can see I'm able to select it. Now if I select second one, you can see I'm able to select it, right? But what you're able to see is that for the time I'm able to select both of them. I don't want this. I want to select either one of them at a point. How to make it possible? It's actually very simple to do it, guys. For this, what you need is something known as another field known as name, guys. You need another attribute in your input field known as name. So name works like a category, guys. Okay. So you need to have a name field. A name field actually works like a category. So what you can do, you can put a common name for both the input fields, both the radio buttons. So now both the radio buttons have a same category, And at a point, a category can have just one value, either a red or a green. That's what it means. So I can say that the name of the, you can say, category is colors, right? Simple. So the category is colors. And now I can select either one of them, either red or green. You can see that category colors can have just one value at a time, right? That is how you can create a single selection from multiple of them, right? This is how you use radio buttons if you want to create multiple choice types. Now guys, two inputs will have different IDs for but same names. Okay, names are basically like categories. So you created a category colors, and now you are saying that in that category, I want to have a value. Now that category can only have a single value, and that can either be a red or a green. Okay, that's what you are telling it here. See guys, name is actually something which will be sent back to the server. So whenever you submit this form, right? Whenever you submit this form, ID is just a way to identify it on our front end. But when you send this form, you need to show, right? You need to tell the user, or you need to, while sending, you need to show that this is an email field. This is a password field. So that is what name does. So whenever you click on submit, you are actually sending this data. And while this data is being sent, it contains this name field. So it means that you selected green. It means colors is green, or basically color, not colors, because we are selecting a single one. Okay, that is what it means. Now guys, one more thing. If you actually think about it, it is very logical, but let's just talk about it. So now you obviously know that in a full name field, you need to enter the name. In each field, you need to enter the name, password, email, even upload image, all of these. But if you really think about it, a checkbox field, you need to define. As a programmer, I need to define it on my own, what value it needs to contain, right? Similarly, my radio buttons already need to have a value. Users just need to select them, right? Users, you can say, problem is just to select it, not to write the value name. So that is what you need to actually understand. So radio buttons actually need to have something known as a value field, guys. Okay, you need to have in the radio buttons something known as a value field. Why? Because radio buttons need to know that what is the value if someone selects this input, right? So if someone selects red, what should it send to the server? So when you click on submit, what value should be sent for the input field to the server? Now in full name, you're writing it. So this is your value. This is what will be sent at the time of submit. But for red and green, you need to set the value on your own. That's why you need to say here, red should be submitted and green should be submitted. Okay, like this. Yeah. And now you have it. Now guys, similarly for values, again, for the checkbox as well, you will need something known as a name field and a value field. So name field is actually compulsory, guys. So we'll add name field to every single one of them, but let's just add first the value field and say accepted all, you can say, policies. Or even if you don't add a value, that won't actually make a difference because it will automatically be added. So it will just mark it to be true, something of that sort. Let's say name field, and the name field would be policy, right? Policy, or we can say accepted policy. That's it. Now guys, see guys, I introduced you to the name and the value field in this field, but actually the funda is that the name field is actually compulsory to have in all of them. Because if you think about it logically, when you submit this form, it won't actually get to know that what field or what you entered here. It will just have a value for it. It does not have a name for it. What is this? Right? What is this field? So for that, you actually need to have a name field here as well. You don't need a value field because value would be automatically set, but you will need a name field and that should say name like this. Similarly, for the age as well, you would need a name field for it that can depict that what the name of this field is. That is number, or not even number, but age, right? That is required. For the password as well, you would require a name field that would say password. For every single one of them, guys, you would require a name field. But yes, value is something which you would not require for anything else than radios. See guys, see, one thing you need to remember. Okay, there is something which you're confusing it. Okay, let me just explain it. See, I can see that yes, ID is also saying name. Name is also saying name. Placeholder is also saying name. Right, fine, fine. I agree to it. But placeholder is something which is displayed here. It does not have any sense of being submitted at the backend. Similarly, you have this ID. ID has a different purpose, guys. ID is never used for data submission. Name is something which is used for data submission. So whenever you submit that, you can say submit this form, you would have a name field created. So whatever you write inside it, that will be created and it would store the value ASDF, whatever you entered inside it. Okay, that is what happens. They still show the same name, right? They have a same name type, but they are used for different works, guys. Yes, guys, all input fields need to have. There is actually a, you can say, method or a way you need to work. Okay, name is compulsory for everything. Okay, so name should be present. ID should be present. Okay, placeholder type should be present. So every input field should have type, placeholder, ID, and name. It's important. And I'll show you why, guys. I'll show you in a sec why all of these is important. Just give me a second, I'll show you. So fine. Now let me just see what all we added names for. Okay, we added a name field here, we added a name, we added a name here. Now let's proceed. Here also we need to say a name of email. I'll show you where exactly it is used, guys. Just don't worry. If you're confused, we'll basically be able to understand. I also need a name field here. This is user image. What else do we have after this? I also have a name field here. And okay, I've already added a name, not a problem. I've already added a name field here. Fine, guys. Now let's see what will be the difference. Let's go here, refresh the page. And now let's try to enter some fields. So let's say 20. Let's write some password. Let's say my real email. Let's not choose any photo or anything. Let's say red. And yeah, guys, let's submit it. Now, guys, it did get submitted, but it really didn't show you anything, right? It really didn't show you anything because we don't have a backend yet. But you can still figure out what the data you actually tried to submit. It did not get submitted anywhere, but you can still figure out what it tried to send. How? Right click on your page, go to the inspect tab, go to the network tab, refresh your page and re-enter your data, guys. So we have to re-enter the data. So what I'll do, I'll zoom in a little bit and I'll re-enter the data. Okay. So I'll enter some fields and then I'll save them. Okay. And now I will submit it. So when I submit it, I want you to basically here check something. I'll clear the form first. I don't want to see anything else, but I want to see just submit when I submit. And now, guys, at submit, you got this first request made, and this was your submit request, guys. This is what made you submit the form. So when you clicked on submit, if you see the payload, you can see all the fields which were sent to the backend. Right. Did you get it, guys? Yes. You can see here, whenever I clicked on submit, I can see that these are all the fields which got recorded. And this is, you can see the name property which I added for every single one of them. You can see name field Aditya. age field 20, password. And yes, you can see from here that password is actually not encrypted, guys. You can see the password. It just shows here that it's like a dotted format, but when it saves it in a normal format, whatever you saved it like. Email, user image, access, you can say accepted policy or not. So no, I did not accept the policy. And then red or green. So I selected green. So the color is green. Yeah, guys, you can't get it in the backend. So if you really see, that's why I skipped some of the fields like time field, date field, search field, reset field, type field do not have a ID as well as a name. And that's why you can see it's not present here, guys. None of the fields have a name field. That's why they did not get registered. So if I just add a name field, let's see what happens. I add a name field, say time inside it. Similarly, I add a name field, say date inside it. Similarly, I add a name field, let's say search inside it. And yeah, guys, that's it. That are the only additional fields. Now, let's close everything, go to the bottom, and let's retype some data inside it. So let's type something. Let's type an email. Let's even choose a photo or something. Let's accept it. Let's say red this time. Let's select some time. Let's also select a date. Let's type some search. And now let's submit it, guys. So let's clear it and submit it. And let's see what all things got registered. And you can see, guys, I can see everything. Every single thing, guys, I can see. Yeah. So it means basically when you get this data on the backend, this is how it will look like. Okay. So yeah, this is the one. We got all the fields you can see. And yes, you can see, although I said ID is important, but you can see if I don't even add ID, it works. ID is important in a way that you should always have a label. And for a label, you require ID. That's it. That is what I actually wanted to tell you. But yes, it is preferred that always have a label for an input field and always add an ID for it. No, guys, you can't. You can't use a label for two input fields. Definitely you can't. For radio buttons, you can do it, right? For radio buttons, there is no way, but yes, for radio buttons, you can do it. Let's say you add a label at the top, but you can see that you actually need to do something like this. You need to connect them, right? You need to connect them with the help of for and ID. So how can you create two input fields having a same label? That would be confusing. That would give you a problem. That's why not possible. If you don't use a name field, guys, it won't be submitted. You won't access it here. You won't be able to access it here. Simple. We already saw it earlier. You won't be seeing that field. So earlier, my date field, my time field, my search field did not have a name field, or basically did not have a name attribute. That's why they were not present here. You can create multiple checkboxes, guys. There is no rocket science in it. It's very simple. You add a label, you add a unique ID to it. That's it. You can create a checkbox. And yeah, guys, now you know how exactly a form is created, how it is submitted, how it is resetted. And yes, guys, one more thing, guys. Whenever you submit something from a form, guys, in a usual way, this is our usual way by submitting. You can see that our URL actually also has all of that data. So whenever you submit this form, you can see our URL also gets all of that data. This is a usual behavior, guys. So if you don't have a server, right? I don't have a server. Whenever I click on it, I don't have a target where it needs to submit this data. So when you don't have a target where you need to submit the data, what it will do, it will just showcase it at the top of the URL. Okay, so you can see, yes, in the top of the URL, I can find all my data. Like I have my name field equals to Aditya plus Gusain. So spaces are represented by plus in URLs. That's why you can see plus. Commas are represented by equal to. So if I have different fields, I'm representing it by and. Sorry, not equal to and. Then I have age equal to 2343. Then I have password equals to so and so. Right, every field is visible at the top. Yes, guys, you won't be able to show it. Let's say that I have this full name field, right? So let's say that I remove the name field from here. If I just remove this name field, you will see that I won't be able to access it. So let me just write some fields. Let me just write some age, password, some email. And if I try to submit, you can see I now don't get the full name field. I directly start from the age field, guys. So now it was not able to register the full name field. Okay. Registration was not possible because the name field was empty or forgot. Okay, guys. Yep. I think it is clear. Yes or no, guys? Okay, guys. Great. Then we will proceed. Let's proceed. As I already showed you how to check the submitted data. Right click on your page, go to the inspect tab, go to the network tab, and now write your data and click on submit. And the first link which you get, the first URL which you get, right, that contains all your submitted data. I've showed it number of times, guys. Please pay a little bit of attention and you will be able to get all of it. At the top, you can see this is our submitted data. In the payload setting, in the payload section, you can see this is the data I tried to send. Guys, value is, yes, mostly value is used in radio only because there you need to specify it yourself, right? User can't specify a value of the radio button. It is to be specified by you. On rest of the places, you don't require value. If you're talking about the drop down, guys, I know what you're talking about. Let me just show you if I can find it. Yes. This is what you're talking about, guys. So you can actually figure out, it's very simple. What you can see, this is a drop down which you're talking about, right? This is known as a select element. You can see select element. And yes, you can work with it as well. It's a different element. It's not an input element. It's a different element, select element. Okay. You can find it online. It's very simple. You create a select, you add a name to it, you add an ID to it, and inside it you have options attribute, or basically options, different options. And each and every option has a value. That's it. Whichever you select will be set as a value. Okay. That's how simple it is. Guys, payload actually means that whenever a request is sent to the you can say sent to the server, it sends some data. It sends some information with it. Let's say when I was submitting the form, I was sending some information, right? I was sharing some data to the backend. That is referred to as payload. That is referred to as data which I'm trying to send to the server. Now let's proceed, guys. So now we know how forms work, how simple it is to create forms. Now, guys, let's proceed. Let's proceed and talk about one more section. Now, guys, let's talk about one more topic, and it's a very small topic, guys. It's not even related to HTML. It's more related to CSS, but I thought that it will be better if we talk about it because you have seen it number of times till now, and it will be better to talk about it. So, guys, we are talking about something known as a display property, which we will know about later in detail. But for now, we just need to know it. Okay. So there is a something known as display property in CSS, which is actually used a lot. And we'll talk about two of them. One of them is inline and one of them is block. Okay. Now, guys, block elements, there are a lot of elements which are like block. Like H1 is a block level element. Div is a block level element. Paragraph is a block level element. Unordered list, ordered list, video, audio. These are some examples of block level elements. Similar to that, inline elements, you have a list of items or list of types. Like input field, which you created, was a inline element. The label field which you created was an inline element. The break tag which you created, the M tag which we used, all of them are inline. Okay, the span tag which we'll talk about later is inline. The image tag are inline. Now, what exactly is inline and block level elements? There are more examples. So guys, block level elements simply means that they will take the full block of space, whatever they can occupy. So if I create a H1 element, I know it very well that it takes my full space from left corner to right corner, right? So I know it very well that it takes a full space from left to right corner, from here to here, very well. So even if it is this much, right? Even if my heading is this much, it would take this full space. That's why if you write another heading, it always jumps to the bottom, right? It always is present at the bottom. You can try it on your own. Make a heading, write just this much amount of, or you can say content in it, it will take the full space. Similarly, paragraphs. Even if your paragraph contains only this much amount of text, it will always take a full space. This is what a block level element means. Block level element means that I would occupy the full block space as much I can get in my width. I would occupy full of it. And the total opposite of it is inline. Inline simply says I would occupy the space which I require. Like our input fields. Our input field by default required this much space. If there was a little bit more left, it could be occupied by the second input field. If there was more left, it could be occupied by the third input field. More left occupied by a checkbox. More left occupied by a radio button. More left occupied by a submit button. Now, if you can say if the screen shrinks and if there is no more space here, let's say that our, you can say size of the window is only this much. The website is only displayed till there. Then it will move to the next line. Then it will display in the next line. If the size is only till here, then it will move all of it to the next line. It will move the checkbox here. It will move the radio button here. It would move the button here. So yes, it shrinks automatically, but by default, it occupies only the space it requires. Yeah, guys. So that is how simple it is to remember inline and block level elements. That is what inline and block level elements are. Got it, guys? Yes or no? Very simple, but you might have confused yourself because you might have seen a lot of different elements which acted a little bit differently. That's why I told you that what they mean. Very simple, but useful and should know for now. Okay, great. Fine, guys. So after this, let me just see if there are any small topics we can talk about for today, and then we'll proceed. Yes, guys, it is important because we'll talk about it more in CSS as well, because you need to know which element is what type, right? So we'll talk about it later when we'll, you can say deep dive into CSS. So in CSS, we'll talk about them again. But for now, yes, this is more, you can say more than enough for you to know that how exactly they work. What is the behavior of them, right? That's more important for you to understand for now. Okay, guys, I think that is enough for today, guys. Yep. I think that will be good enough for today. Now, guys, for tomorrow, I want you to actually do a little bit of homework. I want you to read through something. Okay. We will be talking about something known as forms. So not forms, tables, guys. So we'll be talking about how to create tables inside HTML. So I want you to read it out a little bit. Table tag, how it is used, how different things inside it can be used. You can read out a little bit about it and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay, guys. So someone asked a good question, right? Let me just answer it. Just a sec. So yeah, someone asked that we earlier did anchor tags, right? We earlier studied about anchor tags, and I told you this is an anchor tag, right? This is, let's say, anchor tag. I wrote something inside it. If I click on it, I can navigate to a particular section of the page. So it is in-page navigation, right? I can navigate to a particular section of the page. Now, someone asks, what if I want to do the same thing, but I want to navigate first to the different page and then to a particular section of that page? Can I do it? So it means that I'm on this page. When I click on this button, I should be navigated to another page, but not at the top, but to the particular section. So in the scroll bar, I should be at a particular section, and that section should be displayed at the top. So can I do this? Yes, absolutely, guys. What do I use? You use the same thing, guys, what I told you. So let's say if this is contact.html. So how did you write your anchor tag? You write anchor tag, you write href equals to, you write slash contact.html, simple. And after that, you specify hash. That's it. You say hash, and then whatsoever section you want to go to, right? So if this is the section you want to go to, it will have an ID, right? Let's say ID of ABC. Then if you want to go to ABC, then specify ABC. That's it. That is it. That is how you navigate to a particular section with a target. Yeah, guys, definitely. So you can only navigate to another page only if you know its page, the name of the page and the ID. And it is pretty obvious, guys. Always you will know it. The reason being, you are the developer of the website, you'll always know it. Guys, you will also have to specify the URL, right? You just specified hash Google. Hash Google won't make you go to the Google page. First, you need to specify Google, right? Google.com, the official URL, then inside it, hash Google or whatsoever section you want to go to. Yeah, definitely. That's all. Yeah, guys, I've already uploaded the whiteboard. I know I forgot it. So I uploaded it recently before the class. So you can find it there. The whiteboards have been uploaded for day 3 and day 4. I'll also upload the whiteboard of today as soon as possible. And yeah, guys, that is it for today, guys. So thank you everyone and have a nice day. And we'll meet tomorrow and we'll continue with the rest of it. The day 4 video, I guess I've uploaded. Guys, can you let me know? I think I've uploaded the day 4 video. I've shared the link as well. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, on the platform I've uploaded. Okay. On the platform, I will create those links so that you can access it. Don't worry about that. So on the platform, I will upload the YouTube link so that you can access it there as well. Yes, I'll do it. And yeah, guys, that is it for today. So thank you everyone. Have a nice day. We will meet tomorrow and we'll continue with the rest of it. Guys, don't worry if you're not able to access the CSS videos, right? And if some of you are able to, not a problem. Okay, I told you that we will be sharing this, you can say C++ and DSA videos from the second week. So yes, you will be getting it apart from the platform. You'll also be getting it apart, you can say separate from the platform. So if you don't have it now, not an issue. You'll get from the starting of the second week. And yeah, guys, that is it for today. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. We'll meet tomorrow, same timings, and we'll continue with the rest of it. Bye, guys. And yes, that's it for today. Good night, everyone. Have a nice day.